I'm Dr. Cheryl, and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl, Wealth Transformation. Our show is raising the awareness and consciousness in the relationship with wealth and unconditional love. Always remember that your present situation is not your final destination. The best is yet to come by Zig Ziglar. Our show this evening is about the wealth of karma and integrity. Mark Hughes is the founder of the Karma Institute. Mark Hughes has spent over 3 decades exploring and teaching the principles of inner wisdom. In 2009, he wrote, "I am not a prophet, therefore I know." His message, everyone has the ability to listen to their inner voice, and they have a responsibility to act on it. Mark offers presentations and workshops that are highly interactive and spontaneous by nature, and demonstrates a process he developed to empower individuals to seek inner guidance within minutes. Mark refers to his technique as the mini meditation. Mark's campaign, the Be Karma 2 Challenge, meaning live good karma too, challenges people to take personal responsibility for building a global consciousness by raising their own personal consciousness. Mark is currently launching Karma Institute, a global media network of conversations with global leaders, visionaries, scholars, and individuals that have something to say about our world's most pressing problems. Welcome, 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 Mark.
Thank you.
My goodness, this has been kind of a fast interlude to get you here.
Yeah.
Thanks to Jill. But we spoke on the phone. It was like instantaneous. So here you are. So please tell, I've done a little bit of an intro about you, but please tell us about where you're from and how you got to where you are now.
Well, I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, and I raised my 2 kids up there. And when my second took off to go to college, I said, when you leave, I'm out of here. I'm going to the sun. So I took about a year and traveled, went to Hawaii and traveled all through Hawaii, all the islands. I went to Southern California and Texas and Arizona and went to a lot of places. And by accident, sheer accident, I was passing through. Well, there's no accidents if you take that. But I had a friend say, I'm going to do a road trip. Do you want to go? Do you want to go to, I'm going to stop and see my son in San Rafael. And I said, where's that? And she said, Marin County. And I said, where's that? I didn't even know where Marin was. I pulled into Marin and I knew within 10 minutes this is it. So I've been here 5 years and love it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what put you on this path?
Well, it's interesting. I had an experience when I was in Oregon. I had a very unfavorable experience with a builder that sort of did some not so good things with my house and kind of left I built a brand new house and was forced out of there within 9 months of moving into my house. And by mold. I had high levels of mold on all 3 levels. And I came out of that and I kind of thought, well, this is going to be a simple process. And I sort of took on the Aaron Brockovich thing about doing the right thing. And what I learned was that there's a tremendous lack of integrity on many levels. And I thought, we really do need to bring, more integrity and accountability back into our world. Now, my mother's name is Karma, and a phenomenal person.
Is she still
She's
living?
92 years old.
Oh, wow.
And
is she in Portland?
She's in Portland. She's a phenomenal person and was a great mother. And I went to her and I said, Mom, I want to do a foundation in your name. Here's some names. Which do you like? And she said, I like the Karma Institute. And that's how we started. We started in 2008. And the purpose then was to create an opportunity for educating people to the importance of living by principles of good karma. How important that is.
And what does that mean?
Well, that means is that we choose, we make choices and our actions in a way that have a great degree of integrity, that we are accountable in our actions, that we make decisions that are kind and compassionate and for the highest good of all. And you know it. You know when you make a decision that's coming from a place of integrity because you feel the goodness, and you also know when you tell a little white lie or you do something that's not much, it doesn't have much integrity, and you know it and you don't feel good about it. And I think we've learned over time that it's easier sometimes to do things that may not have the most integrity because it's just easier. And so sometimes by stepping into integrity.
Okay, now I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Is it? I guess I learned from 5 years old to be honest. I mean, I got a belt on my rear end because I lied, and it was a humble lie, actually. But I learned that, honesty, and of course, over the years, learning how to communicate that so it doesn't come out too bluntly.
Right.
But being honest.
Right.
To me, that is the most important thing,
Right.
and being honest with yourself. So I'm trying to see how you're coming from. I mean, it starts with yourself.
It totally starts with
no
yourself.
matter what.
And I'm a firm believer that we have an inner voice. That's what my book was about, or is about, I should say. That it's about the fact that all of us have the ability to tap into our inner voice, and our inner voice does not lead us down the wrong path. It may take us somewhere that may not be as favorable, but there's a lesson involved.
So, from your perspective and your experience, how do you tap in to that inner voice?
Well, it's a process, and I think that everybody has it. And the book is really about not how to listen to the inner voice, but how to not let the monkey mind invalidate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the monkey mind, would that be your ego?
Your ego, or just experiences, past experiences, all sorts of your fears about certain things. Because what happens a lot of times is that, and I'm a firm believer that the inner voice comes from the heart, and the heart's intelligence is where the soul resides, and that's, if there is wisdom that comes from us, the stream begins in the heart, and that's where it flows, the energy and the wisdom flows from the heart. And so, I have developed a little mini meditation that allows people to sink in very quickly to that area and to listen and to pull up wisdom. And then the key is to act on it. Because what happens, just like anything else, you need to work the muscles in order to make them strong. You need to work your inner voice in order to make it strong.
Yes.
And too many people ignore it and push it away and push it away and push it away. But when we act on it, it becomes stronger and stronger, so that therefore we can tap in very quickly, listen, hear, and move on and take the actions. And we have, unfortunately, become very complacent and very what I would say is just lazy about trusting that inner voice and stepping into what we believe.
You're talking about laziness. I just had this conversation the other day, and I think so many people are lazy. They don't want to do the work to get to that place because there's so much hurt that they haven't healed. And so, it's a fear thing that they don't want to deal with it because they're afraid of the emotion of it. But once they get, do you think or feel that once you get past that pain, then you're free to listen?
You're totally free, and I think my experience is, and with people that I work with, I think also is that once you develop that relationship and you literally develop a conversation with your inner voice, that you literally can communicate back and forth with your inner voice, that's the greatest peace of mind you could ever have. Now, when I have a problem or a challenge, that's the first thing I do is I go and I listen. And I be still. And that's
Did you, in this process, question whether that was...
Absolutely.
I mean,
without my ego?
That's
that's the number one question I get. How do you know when it's your inner voice versus your ego? And it's sort of like, when your child comes to you and says, Mom, what's love? I mean, you can kind of explain it, but it's not until you actually experience it that you go,
you
wow,
yeah,
okay, that's what that feels
that you
like.
totally understand.
Yeah, and it's been a journey. I mean, I started when I was in my early 20s, searching and asking and wondering, if there's something bigger than myself. Is it within me? Is it outside? Is it the white man and the white, beard and the robe? Is it something? And I've come to just over the years really, I think that the big difference for me was when I said, I am going to act on what I hear, regardless. And when I
mean here in your
when I listen and I hear a nudge, a push, a pull, or something, and everybody hears it different. Some people see a word, some people hear a word, some people see an image, some people get afraid. There's lots of different ways that everybody sort of taps into it. But when somebody, listens and hears and acts on it, and each time they act on it, it becomes stronger and stronger. And then you really get to know, oh, that's what this inner voice is all about.
That is anchored in your soul.
Locked in there.
Being.
Yeah.
Because I know that's been a challenge for me is, okay, I question, is this my ego or is this my true being, my true inner wealth, as whatever, inner guidance.
Yeah, I think it's a hard one to define, but I think for me, the inner voice is coming from a place of service and coming from a place of kindness and respect, and it can encourage you and nudge you and push you, but it's not negative. And the ego can be negative. The ego can be, well, I'm going to get them, or I'm going to, or whatever that is. And my experience is that my inner voice is not vindictive, for example,
and fearful,
and not fearful. Yeah, very supportive, very, very encouraging. Yeah.
So tell us about your book.
So I was teaching workshops parenting workshops, and
you have 2 kids?
I have 2 kids. I have a daughter and a son, 26-year-old daughter and a 24-year-old son.
Oh.
And when I was first a parent, and I went to all the community education catalogs and things, and I was looking for classes on parenting, and there was nothing. There was there was 6 or 7 on dog obedience, but there was nothing on parenting. It was like, are you kidding me? Really? I can get more help to train my dog than I can to parent my kids.
That's pretty sad.
So over time, I developed a program, and it was really exciting and fun, and people would say, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. And as I was meditating and as I was listening, it kept saying, go right, go right, go right. So I went to sit down to go write, and I kind of put my hands on the keyboard, and I went, okay, what am I going to write about? And the next thing I know, I'm writing this book about listening to the inner voice. It came absolutely out of nowhere. I had no idea that I was going to write it.
It was channeling.
I was totally channeling. Yeah. And so I just sat down and wrote it. And it basically, like I said, it's mostly about that everybody has the ability to hear the inner voice, but we let past experiences get in our way. We let beliefs about our attachment to what we think the outcome's going to be, all sorts of different things. So it's what it's designed to do is they're very short chapters, and there are lots of different topics, and they're meant for people to just kind of breeze through it and pick something. Oh, that's what I need. I need to read about that. Yeah. And they're short.
It was funny. I was with a friend yesterday, and the conversation came up about living in the past. And I think most people live in the past, and that's why they can't be in the present. Mm-hmm. And because it's so important to be in the present, so you can hear, in the now, you can hear what's, the positive and the, so you can, it might even give you visions or inspiration, so you can go do it, your purpose. It sounds like you found your purpose. I know I have. And so, if people could let go of the past, I mean, we want to hold on to the good past, the good memories, but that, everybody has negative, has challenges. And it's important. I mean, don't you think that that's a big key to...
I think that also that it's really important to let go of the future. Because we're planning ahead, or this is where we want to go. I mean, what's the phrase? Life happens while we're making plans. You know, we're making plans. We're all clear about where we want to go, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, we're over here.
Yeah,
you know, and so true. I think being in the moment is really important. And it's so funny. My mom continues to teach me. She's having memory loss now at 92, and she is the epitome of living in the moment. Because I could have a conversation with her, not even a conversation, 3 or 4 sentences, and she's fully present, joyfully laughing, joyfully interacting, and then it's like back to the same question. But each time, she's fully in the moment, and I think, wow, what would that be like if we could all just be completely, fully in the moment, present, here and now.
Free!
Yeah.
Free!
Yeah.
I've worked so hard at that. I'm still working on it, but it takes discipline. You know, it really does take discipline, and not putting a negative on discipline. You know, some people get discipline, but concentration. It takes commitment.
Well, you know, I'm a firm believer that what happens in our life is an opportunity for us to stop and take note of, you know, why is this happening? What am I to learn from this?
Absolutely.
You know, and so it's easy when we go into fear or something bad happens, that we go into fear, we freak out about stuff. And for me, it's the practice that I have to continue to remind myself. I'm not perfect at this because I slip into the, freak out or whatever.
Yeah.
But to take a moment and go, okay, so what does this mean? What am I to gather from this? And I'm a firm believer that, you know, the universe sort of nudges us.
Oh, absolutely.
And nudges us. And if we don't listen.
Yeah.
And that's when, I mean, for me, when a person has a pretty dramatic experience in their life, you know, they need to really stop. My suggestion is that they take a moment to reflect, why is this happening? Especially if it's being repeated, right? You know, I have people say, you know, I always pick the wrong boyfriend, you know, over and over again or whatever. Well, what's that about? Or I always get into work situations where they take advantage of me or whatever it is. And then it gets to a dramatic, you know, experience, and it brings them to the point where they have to reflect and to take time to notice and to ask, what's that about?
I started writing a book about this. Why people are so stubborn about this exact same thing that you just said. You know,
why are they stubborn about not
learning like the first time? You know, it's like what is it that makes us do the same thing over and over and not learn the first time? You know, just reflecting on what you just said.
Well, I think unfortunately that we punish ourselves and we punish others when there's a failure. And if we had an overall philosophy that every time that there was a failure or something went wrong that we celebrated, it would be a totally different energy.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's not where we come from.
No.
You know, when a kid does something wrong, you spank them, or you reprimand them, or you scold them, or you take away their cell phone, or you do all these things. And for me, I'm a firm believer of, you know, I raised my kids that when something happened, I would simply say, what did you learn from this? How are you going to do this differently?
Yeah.
And if they could verbalize that, if it took 30 seconds, next, moving on, you know, because that's what it's all about. What it's all about is for us to honor the experiences that we have, both the good and the bad, and know that the bad is just a
learning.
Yeah, and it's so my kids are at the point now where they're starting to have not so favorable experiences sometimes, and they're learning from them, right? And I said, you know, it's unfortunate that we can't learn from really positive experiences.
Yeah.
We often learn the most from the very painful ones.
The
challenging ones.
Challenges are opportunities.
Yeah, the challenges are the opportunities for personal growth. Yeah, exactly.
I have a 26-year-old daughter, so I know, and she's not even talking to me right now.
Oh, okay.
That's a whole nother subject.
Yeah.
But no, I keep wondering, why are we so stubborn about not recognizing things faster, you know?
Well,
I mean, I'm speaking for myself, of course, you know, but then I look at people around me and I think, well, okay, but, you know, I'm not judging. It's just, you know, there's still that like little piece that I don't quite understand.
why people,
Why, you know, we're so stubborn and not, you know, I mean, I know that we have so many layers in our body and the emotions. I mean, our beings are complicated, but we make it also complicated. It doesn't have to be, you know, it's actually a simple process to get through, to learn, you know, from the challenge.
And, you know, I have a phrase and bumper stickers that say good karma is by choice, not by chance.
Yeah.
And that you have to make a choice. I mean, it just doesn't happen. You have to, like you're talking about being stubborn, you have to say, okay, now is the time for me to grow from this. Now is the time for me to take a look at this and move beyond it. It's a conscious effort. And, you know,
that's the key, the conscious
effort.
effort.
And, you know, we have a culture that, and a society that encourages, you know, sometimes a lot of pressure. I was doing a session today with a man, and he was feeling so incredibly pressured with his job, you know. And when you have that intensity that's placed upon you, you sometimes don't allow yourself to open up and expand beyond the box,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And so we have to give ourselves freedom to go beyond the box, and we have to give ourselves, you know, the freedom to make mistakes, to move on, to ask ourselves, you know, what am I learning from this? And the stubbornness, I think, is you know, I just think it's conditioned beliefs that people have a hard time with the fact that it's okay.
Okay, yeah,
that it's
because
okay.
I mean, the media feeds the negativity, or you know, the not open, new. It's not. I mean, this is an old way of thinking, really.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been put into practice. I mean, we live in an area where it's really common. You know, we live in a progressive spiritual place, so it's easier for like minds, or to process and faster. And I mean, this is my experience. So, you know, because you go to different areas in the country and they're not so.
No.
You know.
Well, it's the norms. It's the norms of that community.
Yeah.
You know, we have some, in Marin, we have different norms. We have a very strong spiritual community, and then we have a very wealthy community.
Yes.
And sometimes they blend, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just within our community. So, you know, then you go into other countries, and the norms are very different.
Michael
you know?
Pritchard says 50%. Got it? Get it? 50. The other 50% don't.
Yeah.
I think, that's
Yeah.
right. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure that we, you know, in America have been given that opportunity to think that way, you know. Certainly if you go to other Eastern countries and things, you know, their philosophy and their attitude about life is very different, and death
Yes.
and you know, how things evolve and how to go with the flow. And you know, here we just, you know, we just have a kind of a drive that's pretty intense.
Oh, boy. I mean,
pressure.
Speaking of that, I was questioning within myself whether I should bring this subject up in the karma realm. And I did briefly mention to you on the phone, but I'm thinking that America, it isn't just America, it's the globe. It's the global community. But I think we're paying some pretty high karma on what is going on politically. In getting Trump into office and everything that's starting to unfold, I think it's karma, because we have, as a nation, we have focused way too much addiction to power and addiction to money, and it's all coming in our faces. And you know, as you said, we're driven, you know, and that driven to be successful, competitive. And it's like, you know, the competition thing, I see it every day, and it's like, why? you're stressing yourself out. And it's, competition should be in the courts or on the field or, in athletics. But, when you're hurting people, like the money, competitive money thing. I mean,
Greed?
yes. I mean, it's all tied in. So I think that's karma. I mean, what's your take on this?
Well, I have been hearing for years about a spiritual evolution, a spiritual awakening. And it's been this gradual sort of thing. And while I not necessarily in full agreement with our current president, I think that we have become very complacent. We have become very comfortable with what is and not proactive. I mean, there's a lot of issues in the world that we could choose to be proactive, and we don't because, for whatever reason. And I think Donald Trump is what he's bringing to our globe is an awakening.
Yes.
Because you have more people standing up and saying, this is the direction I want to go. I don't want to go this direction. I want to go this direction.
It's
more so than we've seen in recent history.
And it's kind of forcing them not to be so complacent.
Exactly.
Yay!
People are getting out of their chair and they're getting vocal and they're going to rallies and they're writing letters and they're doing things because they are being pushed by that which they don't like, that which they're not comfortable with, right?
The rub, the sandpaper.
So at first I was into total resistance and I had a very hard time with it. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I went, this is perfect.
This is a wake-up call.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about perfect, but
I think it is. We have to look. I mean, I have a hard time looking at the news, and I have a hard time with some of the choices and the directions that we're going. But I love the fact that there are opposite points of views that are now being heard. Yeah. That, I mean, the whole issue with the courts and overturning the whole immigration ban, that's something we should all be very proud of.
Yeah, that's true.
That's something that we should all we are in a nation that allows the checks and balances, so that we do have that protection against issues and policies that don't necessarily.
So it's not only shaking we the people; it's shaking the men at the top, the men and the women at top.
Sure. And that's what he basically promised that he was
going
to do.
And that's what we need anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's unfortunate, because it would be nice if we could have a really strong spiritual leader that could step up and create and empower people to step forward and
have the
do that.
balance.
Yeah. And I think, but see, that's what's great about this is that you're going to see more of that happening. You're going to see more people, spiritual leaders, and stepping forward and saying, there's this point of view, and now there's this point of view. Why don't you? I mean, and that's really largely what the Karma Institute is about, to be honest with you.
Because when you have that spiritual base, and I've been working on this since I was
welcome to the club.
13.
Yeah.
I can remember digging when I was questioning at 13. Yeah. And, once you have that, and you might get a little waylaid here or there, when big things happen. But once you have that, you've got it.
Yeah.
It's your foundation.
Well, and that's where we have to move to. We have to move to a place that's our foundation. And the Karma Institute is all about instilling the belief that, we can't point our fingers at all the wrongdoings that are happening out the world and commit our own injustices.
Yeah.
We have to live by good karma in order for the karma to be a collective consciousness. Exactly. Exactly. So when we all start embracing the principles of good karma, or doing to others, you have others doing to you, or whatever, however you want to. I don't have a huge attachment on,
the
karma.
Verbiage.
Yeah. But the fact is that we have a duty and a responsibility to redirect our values that we have slowly allowed to deteriorate.
Yes. Yes.
You know, like accountability is
For the
huge.
sake of money.
Yeah. Well, accountability is like a huge one for me. I am amazed at how many experiences that I encounter where people just don't do what they say they're going to do,
Oh my gosh.
and we let them get away with
I
it.
know.
So part of my mission is to say to people, you know, we need to return that value of accountability back into our well-being, back into our lives. And how you do that is, now, Cheryl, you said you were going to do such and such and such and such, and it hasn't happened. So I'd like you to keep your agreement, and I'd like to know when you are able and willing to follow through on your agreement. In a kind way.
See,
you know?
now, me, I, I don't want anybody saying that to me because I want to be accountable
Right.
before somebody would say that.
Well, I may not have to. People may not have to say it to you.
But I
the
mean,
people that need to hear it
I
need to hear
know.
it.
Oh my gosh.
The people that need to hear it
Yes.
need to hear it.
The CEO of Uber needs to hear that.
Well, I think it's just a lot of people in work and in relationships
know,
and on and on and on.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And that's when you lose trust, when they don't follow through with what they're going to say
Right.
or what they said they're going to do or whatever. It's tough.
Well, over time, and I think this is where we've got, and this is probably my biggest concern with what's happening now is sort of the deterioration of honesty and the deterioration of some of these values. And I really hope we don't sort of become complacent with it and start accepting it. Because it could be very easily that we could accept that it's okay to have our president make, you know, statements that might not necessarily be true. You know, we need to hold him accountable and say, no, this is not okay.
But don't you think that's happening?
It is happening. It's still going
We
on.
have to sustain it.
But there's some people that are saying it's okay. See, and that's my concern.
Yeah.
You know, because all that is, so it's sort of like the story. If you take a frog and you put a frog in hot water, it'll jump out. It's uncomfortable and jump out.
Yeah.
But if you put a frog in cool water and you slowly turn up the heat over time, adjusting to dishonesty, adjusting to lack of accountability, adjusting to lack of honesty. I mean, on all these things where we've over time, you know, the frog will actually boil to death because it's so gradual that they don't even notice the change. And I think that's where we've come. We've come from over a period of time where things have happened and we have become complacent and allowed it. And, you know, I mean, the Karma Institute was literally formed because I heard way too many times, oh, that's just the way it is.
Oh, God. Yeah.
The legal system that was supposed to protect me. Oh, well, it's just the attorneys are in it just to make the money. That's just the way it is. Oh, the insurance companies, they're not going to cut. That's just the way it is. Oh, the bill. I mean, I heard it over and over and over again, and I'm supposed to just go, oh, okay, that's the way it is. No, that's not okay.
No, I agree.
And so that's when I started the Karma Institute, because I said, you know, we need to move beyond that and get to a point that we have values that we hold. I mean, I come from a history. My grandparents were very value-driven, moral folks. And, you know, there's a lot to say about having that as your foundation of who you are and having that permeate our culture. And right now, we need to work on that. And so the Karma Institute is all about that. It's about, well, these are good karma coins. These were designed, they're different wooden coins, and they're designed, there's 10 different quotes on it.
Did you design this?
Yeah, along with my daughter. My daughter was helping me with this.
Sweet.
But anyway, so for example, take an issue if you want of something that you're wanting to get some guidance on, whether it's a problem or a decision. Your daughter.
My daughter.
You're having conflict with your daughter.
Well, there's conflict. I don't know if that's the right word. It's lack of communication.
Okay.
You know, she has a boyfriend that he and I.
Yeah, I've been there.
So
it's a tough one.
It's real tough, you know. And she knows that I'm there. I always give her messages, and she, no matter what, I'll always be there for her, and she knows that, and she knows that I love her. But it's like it's you know, I know that for a parent, one of the hardest things is letting go, especially a mother.
Well, it's hard. It's hard
It's
for
hard
fathers.
well, yeah, of course. I was very close to my dad, so you know, I'm still never. There's part of me will never let go, but it's a challenge.
Yeah. So the issue for you is, what is it specifically with your daughter? What do you want guidance on her? How do you handle it? How do you, what is it?
Well, I'm handling it the best I can, but I guess coming to terms with it.
Coming to a sense of peace of mind about it?
Yes.
Okay. So just grab a coin, whatever. Okay. So what does it say?
When is enough enough?
Okay. So how does that apply to this?
Means I just need to chill out and not focus. I need to not focus on it because I need to trust that she'll come back when she's ready. And then I have things that remind me of her, and I think about it again. You know, it's a little compulsive. So I just need, one is enough is enough.
So do you feel like you spend a lot of time thinking about it and worrying about it?
Well, I it's not worrying. I am a little worried, yeah, because I know that there's alcohol and drugs involved, and I'm concerned about that. And I just pray for her every day. She's the top of my list.
Now, what if it was the other way around? What if enough is enough is that you need to be... Have you stated your position pretty clearly?
With my daughter? Oh, yes.
Okay, so she
Oh,
knows.
yes, I've written. Yes, definitely.
Okay, so sometimes we have to put it out there and let go. Yeah. Now, I had a situation, very similar situation, and I had to be really, really clear in terms of the possible consequences. And that's what sort of got their attention.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, you know, how a really adverse relationship can impact the family unit.
Oh, yeah.
And what that really looks like. So again, good karma is by choice, not by chance. The choices that we make, there's no accident. They don't just, things don't just happen. If you're making a choice that this is the direction you want to go, you need to know that that's a conscious choice, and there's implications that come from that.
Absolutely.
And as long as you know that and you're good with that, then fine. Yeah. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. But come to peace with it by letting it go. But all you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. Right?
That's all I can
Yeah,
do.
right. Cool.
Yes. Amen.
So these karma coins...
That's neat.
These karma coins were designed because, as the founder of the Karma Institute, it's easy for me to be constantly reminded to live by good karma, right? I mean, I can't be the founder and then go off and do all these horrible things.
Well, I would hope
I mean, I have to sort of go, oh, that's right, I got to live by this. I got to
just
live.
like you said, you're going to be held accountable as well.
Right. So with these, it was a way in which people could be reminded on an ongoing basis. So I've used these with kids that are in third grade all the way up into like corporate meetings, where we go into a meeting that they're going to be discussing a very challenging situation, and each person takes a different coin.
Oh, neat.
And then we proceed with the meeting, and each person comes from that point of view. And there's 10 different phrases, and there's one is win-win, why not? Have the courage to speak the truth. Oh, this one I like. Try wearing their shoes. There was a young kid. You're to keep this. So you can keep this, and it's a reminder. So put it by your dresser, by your toothbrush, or whatever, wherever that you'll see it, and it to be a reminder.
This is bringing up other stuff now.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll handle that outside the show. We're going to have a long meeting after this. You're getting warm. So anyways, the coins were to be a reminder for people to choose the coins, to help them solve some of their problems, to give them guidance, to give them direction, and then to keep them close at hand to remind them to just constantly, oh, that's right, got to live by these principles.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we need to be reminded. That's why I do my intro and my outro every time, because we just, there's too many things out externally that are impacting us. So we have to be reminded over and over and over. That's where I think the stubbornness comes in. I'm still trying to work on that one. But anyway, we won't talk about that. So, what's next?
What's next for me?
Yeah.
I'm really excited about starting to do a lot of interviews with people. One of the things that I love to do is have conversations with folks and allow them to have an opportunity for their wisdom to come forward. Because what I hear, and that's kind of like why the book was titled, I Am Not a Prophet, Therefore I Know, meaning that I think we spend a lot of time focusing on listening to these audio tapes and TV and all these leaders and spiritual leaders and this and that and everything else. And the truth of the matter is we all have that wisdom.
Right.
And I am looking forward to being able to have conversations with lots of different people and allow them to share some of their wisdom. And we're going to take on different issues ranging, social issues ranging from immigration to climate change, to personal consciousness, to whatever it is. And interview people, and it's going to be fun. A lot of what you're doing right here. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I have conversations every day.
Yeah.
And, hopefully a lot of the conversations uplift the people that I come in contact with,
Yeah.
And I'm also put in a position where, people can be rather unkind,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the way they're feeling about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm learning how to deal with that
Mm-hmm.
on a kind way,
Mm-hmm.
in a kind way. So, but,
Well, some of us have not been blessed with a great childhood or great relationships or
oh my
good work
gosh.
opportunities and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
that's
and we're
true.
seeing that now more than ever as people are stepping up and, expressing their sense of hopelessness, expressing their sense of frustration, that they can't get ahead or they're struggling with this or struggling with that. And, we need to remind ourselves that, not everybody may have been blessed with some of the blessings that we have. And so reaching out and being compassionate and supporting and kind to people is what it's really all about. And connecting with them and hearing them. And one of the things that I think that I would love to see happen more of is people being better listeners. Learning how to ask questions and learning how to listen and give an opportunity for people to really speak instead of going back and forth and nobody's really heard,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. And there's a lot of wisdom that comes by learning how to ask good questions. And that's part of what we do, with the Karma Institute and with our coaching and stuff like that is because most of the time if you're having a hard day and someone says, so why are you having a hard day? You go, well, I got this guy ran into me and down the car, and I don't know, something happened and I just got irritated, and then you go, well, then what else? And keep getting, and they finally find out that you had an experience at work that was troubling, and it comes from asking more and more questions to really get down, because there's the public truth and then there's the private truth, and the private truth is the one that we hold on real dearly, where we don't really want to confide. And that's the other thing I think is really amazing. We have this concept about being vulnerable, that people don't want to share some of their weaknesses because of how they're going to be perceived. And when I do a workshop, I'm constantly saying, folks, when somebody shares really deeply something very personal and they're willing to be vulnerable about it, how do you feel about them? And 99% of the time, people feel closer, more connected, more compassionate. So why do we have this misconception that if I'm willing to be vulnerable, I'm going to be perceived as a bad person or a weak person or whatever the case may be? And if we can learn...
Conditioning.
What's that?
I think a lot of it is conditioning in our society.
And I think it's also, to be honest with you, that is going back to the point about we need to listen better and we need to be able to ask questions. It's because if you are vulnerable and the person's not listening and they're not able to ask the questions or be supportive, you sort of feel rejected. So sometimes by being really vulnerable with some people, it doesn't turn out very well, right? But if you can develop a partnership with somebody that you can really trust to share really, like I have a half a dozen people in my life that when I have something that's really going on I want to share, I know that I can call them and I can share with them, and they are totally non-judgmental.
Yeah.
They are supportive, they're there for me,
Listen.
they listen, they ask questions, they guide me, they support me, and then vice versa. And I think we all need to have that. And so part of what we're going to do with the Karma Institute is make that possible through video chats where people can call in on a video chat and have a private session where, like I was telling you, like I did today with this gentleman who was very, very stressed about his work. And within 15 minutes, we were able to get him to the point of recognizing what's underneath the stress. Because for him, it was, I feel stressed in my job because there's just so much to do and I don't have enough, time, and I get so stressed. And so what do you feel? So my question was, what do you feel when you are feeling stressed? Well, there's anxiety. I'm feeling anxiety. Okay, so what's the feeling or what's fueling that anxiety? And sometimes we don't know, right? I mean, sometimes I don't think we even consciously stop and go, I'm stressed because there's just so much to do. We don't even go to the point of acknowledging that there's anxiety. But then if you even
Because
go,
you're feeling that stress.
you're just in it. You're just in it, and you're like survival mode, right? And then you go from the anxiety to then what's feeding the anxiety, and the anxiety, I think for this gentleman, was that I'm going to screw up. So the question was from there is, so do you feel that, that you're not good enough, that you might make some mistakes? And yes. And so is that a pattern that you see in other areas of your life? Yes. So now when he's starting to feel stressed, he can immediately recognize that the stress, then there's anxiety. Oh, and I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. So then he can go into the mini meditation or whatever the case may be and ground himself and say, I am good enough. I can do this, So we can circumvent that, but it's digging deep and getting down there. And that's an art. That's not easy.
In my first book, which is Wealth Transformation,
Uh-huh.
my third chapter is about listening.
Cool.
And what I use as an example is meditation. So you can actively listen. It's like if you have a film strip, and each one has each frame on the film
Right.
strip, and this is our mind, and it's going,
Right.
it's going, and what I write is to slow it down
Right.
until you get to the one. And then when you're in that one frame, you can listen. Whether it's to someone else, or listen to your higher self, or listen to your
To observe.
Yeah,
Just to be observant.
exactly.
What's going on?
I mean, that's meditation.
Right.
That's a form of meditation.
Right.
So that's what I wrote in my book,
Oh, cool.
and I think that's so important for everyone to. Yeah, maybe it's not the film strip, but there's some other form.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of different techniques and lots of different ways. The key is creating, I think, more opportunities for people to get to the core of what it is. And once they get there, because the whole thing is like maybe you have a bad habit. Can you change that bad habit? You might not be able to, but you need to be able to identify what that bad habit is so that when you slip into it, you go, oh, there I go again, and catch yourself.
Right.
And then you can put your mechanism into place, whatever techniques you have or create or work with, so that you can move beyond it. Otherwise we go along. And maybe that's part of the stubborn part, is that, maybe our stubbornness is not our willingness to really go to the truth.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
I don't know. I was just thinking that
that's
if
great.
we're stubborn, but if we were to actually really be honest with ourselves and take a look, what is it that's causing me to feel this way? What is it causing me to do this? And again, see, here's this craziness that we go into, is that okay? So let's say we're stubborn and we finally get to a point that we can do the work and cut to the core and get to really what's going on with us. And maybe it's not so great. Maybe it's something that we do that's not so favorable. So what unfortunately we do is then we beat ourselves up.
But then we judge ourselves.
Exactly.
See? And it's like unconditional love
Exactly.
is not judging.
Right.
That's what I talk about.
Right.
No criticizing and no judging.
It's celebration. I say
Yes,
celebrate.
because it's freedom.
Oh my God, I just learned that my stress is caused from my belief that I'm not good enough. Yahoo!
Yeah. It's
Great.
freedom. It's
Instead
freedom.
of like, oh my God, I can't believe I feel that way. Why do I do that? Where did I learn that from? Who cares? Who cares? You know? Yeah. Enjoy your failures. Enjoy your weaknesses. Celebrate your
Celebrate
flaws.
because it's freedom.
Yeah.
That you actually can, be aware of it.
Yeah. The awareness is the key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I wish that for every human being. Even Charlie Manson. Even Trump.
I was going to say, even Donald Trump. Yeah.
I won't. I have to be nice.
Yeah.
No. Oh my God. What is mini meditation?
Mini meditation. I have worked at meditating for, like I said, I started when I was in my 20s trying to meditate. And I took meditation classes, and I learned mantras, and I did the positions, and I did this, and I did that.
Oh, you experimented all around.
And then they would say, you should meditate like 30 minutes a day. And I failed
30
miserably
minutes.
my whole life. There was moments of greatness and wonderful. And I said, I'm going to just see what it would take for me to get there really quickly. So I have a process that I encourage people to consider, and that is, and what's great about it is that you can do it in a very short period of time. And that is that, you just get yourself very comfortable, take a deep breath, and as you exhale, focus your energy going inward towards your heart. So you take a deep breath, exhale, see the body is literally relaxing and coming in. Now if you do that 3 times or more, 3 times, come in. And just when we think we're relaxed and we take one more time, we realize, oh my God, I'm carrying a lot of stiffness in my shoulders. I'm carrying a lot of stiffness. And then just go right to your heart and listen. And usually it comes pretty quickly. So when I do it in a class, what happens a lot of times is people expect that their wisdom comes 20 minutes into their meditation, right? Sometimes the wisdom comes immediately.
And the more you exercise it, and the more you do it,
it gets
easier.
Sometimes I'm coming across the room to sit in the chair, and I sit down in the chair, and there it hits. It's like, oh, wait, I didn't even start yet, So that's, and what's great about that is anytime during the day where you're feeling stressed or you're having to, you come up against a problem or a challenge, you can go there.
Yeah, breathing.
Give me guidance, breathing.
I do that, and usually by the 3rd or sometimes the 5th time, I'm like, okay.
So now, to add to that, is just focus on your heart and listen and really, and here's the other thing. It's almost like get to a point that you expect to hear an answer. But not put pressure on yourself, because if you do, but to have an expectation, just like if you have an expectation that if you take a deep breath, you're going to bring in oxygen. You expect that to happen. And by listening to the inner voice and doing a quick little mini meditations, it's as easy as taking a breath of air. So when you go there and you can do that. Now, does it always 100% happen for me where I get some great advice or direction? No. It certainly relaxes me. It certainly calms me. And it certainly gets me sort of redirected. Kind of, I call it kind of a rebooting or restarting. You push that little red button and kind of reboot. Yeah.
Wow. We only have like 3 minutes left already. Oh, this went so fast.
I don't even know how long was it.
About 56 minutes.
Are you kidding me? We've been talking for almost an hour. The gift of gab. Yeah.
Your other dimple is coming out.
My double dimples.
Oh my goodness. So before we end,
Mm-hmm.
when is enough? No.
And that more clarity will come with time.
Oh,
Obviously,
I know.
all of a sudden it'll mean
there's
more.
a profound message in this.
There's a profound
There
message there
is.
somewhere.
I know there is. What other words of wisdom that you can share before we finish?
I think the big thing is to just be kind to ourselves.
Yes.
Just to be kind to ourselves. We're too hard on ourselves. We're way too hard on ourselves.
Love ourselves unconditionally.
Yeah, and I think we can love ourselves and be kinder to ourselves when we really do get to the point that when we do something maybe not so great and we get the awareness that we really can have the energy be more of a celebration. More of a like, oh, that is so great to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh my God, I can't believe I do this. Why do I do
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Oh, this is like, I'm not a very good person. I thought I was a good person, but I can't believe. And that's where most people go, and I fall into that trap every once in a while.
That's the ego, the mental trap, that committee talk, whatever you want to call it.
Right. So being kind to ourselves is very, very important.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So, Karma Institute. I love that fact that your mom's name is Karma.
Mm-hmm.
That is so.
And it was so
sweet.
interesting because I gave her this is 2008. And I gave her 4 or 5 names, and I read them off, and she said, I want Karma Institute. I said, pick a second one, because I kind of think it's going to be hard to get the domain name, right? This is not that long ago. Karma Institute, this is,
But you got it.
And I typed in, it was available, and I was like,
meant to be, yes,
okay.
it is yours.
It was meant to be. No, it's meant to be,
no.
so.
When things are synchronistic like that.
When they're meant to be.
You know Deepak Chopra, I've studied him for years.
Mm-hmm.
He says that we have synchronicities all day long, but we're just not open to it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a great one. Thank you for sharing that, because that's another thing that I think is important, is that when something good happens, acknowledge it. Thank you. Say thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, universe. Thank you, God. Whatever it is. Whatever your belief is, gratitude. But acknowledge that. Cement that in. That's important. Instead of just going, oh, well, that was kind of cool, and then moving on. It's like,
no, being grateful.
Thank you.
That's the first thing I do when I wake up.
Yeah.
Is I give gratitude. No matter what. Gratitude. Because then you open up for more. Not to be greedy.
You just do it so you can have more. No, I'm teasing.
Well, open to bigger things,
Right.
So, because we limit ourselves. I limit myself. Are we down to zip already? Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here and sharing. Is this enough? No. Because you still have a lot more to say, but we've run out of time.
There's always another day.
Yes, there is.
So thank you very much. I'm glad to be
here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to clap for you.
And I'm going to clap for you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right.
I think that's what conservatism is.
Sure. I'll leave you with this, and as a reminder for all of us, never give up, even when things look impossible, especially with the events that are happening and unfolding globally. Be grateful, and be grateful for your freedom of choice, freedom to learn, to earn and discern, and eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the mind and your body temple. Feed your spirituality with meditation and prayer. Love yourself unconditionally. Stop criticizing, stop judging, forgive yourself and others. Stop allowing others to dominate the way you feel and think about yourself. Be compassionate with yourself first. Share your abundance and wealth with others in whatever form that may be. When fear knocks, let faith answer the door. We all need love, unconditional love, more than ever now for what is unfolding in our government and society. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life, by Henry David Thoreau. Thank you, Marin TV, for facilitating our show, and especially to my crew, Eric, Brad, and Ginger. Thank you. If you like our show, please let us know at #MarinTV or on our Facebook page. Please support and become a member of Marin TV.